Hello, 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 and welcome back to WTF. What the footy? Couple of Yanks shooting blanks about Australian rules football. He is semi-retired Pittsburgh Tribune Review sports writer Joe Rutter. I think that's accurate, Joe.
It is accurate, and Carlton fan.
Of course.
Yes.
I'm your other co-host, Robert Gregory. Demons fan. And happy again this week. Joe, plenty to talk about again.
Yeah.
But as is custom, let's start off with our victory song of the week. Who do we got this week?
We have the Adelaide Crows. Amazingly, the reigning minor premier have not used them yet this year.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with them because
maybe we talk about them a little more.
Yeah, and they beat up on Western. Beat them pretty handily.
Oh.
Scored the most points of the week. They were a team we couldn't figure out, so we are going to go with the Adelaide Crows theme song. Might sound familiar to you.
We're the pride of South Australia, and we're known as the Adelaide Crows. We're courageous, stronger, faster, and respected by our foes. Admiration of the nation, our determination shows. We're the pride of South Australia, we're the mighty Adelaide Crows.
Pride of South Australia, Joe.
They are. They are.
The pride of South Australia. Is that when the Saints go marching in?
That is the St. Kilda is when the Saints go marching in. That is the U.S. Marine Corps hymn.
Oh, that is right.
Yes.
I did mix up the two.
Yes, the U.S. Marine Corps hymn, and they've been using it since, I wouldn't look this up. It was since the 80s or 90s. They've been using this as their official theme song.
Oh,
and as you know, the Marine Corps hymn goes much farther back than that. I don't know when the Crows' origins are, but that has been their theme song now for a while.
And we haven't heard that song. Why again, Joe?
Kind of because they've been up and down, and
because they haven't been that good.
Yeah, they really haven't been after being the minor premiers last year and then losing the first two playoff games. Then going to this season, they've been kind of up and down, but they're back firmly entrenched as a contender. Whipped up on Western, who last week we were ready to anoint Western as the next up and coming team here. And
one to watch.
That's right, one to watch. And they smoked them, beat them by like 60 points, scored the most points of the week, showed they're kind of back and on a good track, on a good path here.
Western, one to watch. 6-0 in games of 10 points or less. And you know what? That's still true.
Yeah.
We're not talking up teams anymore on this show. Let me tell you something. Because every time we do, they crap all over themselves.
Yes, they
do. I mean, this Western Adelaide game wasn't, from the get-go, wasn't even close. What? Adelaide kicked, 8 of the first 9?
Yeah.
And it was over.
I fully expected to wake up and watch this thing and, catch the second half or third quarter and just be really into it. And it was, it was a dog crap game. I mean, it wasn't even a contest. It wasn't even worth watching.
It was a steaming pile. Yes, that's for sure. It was a steaming pile that the Bulldogs left. That's for sure. But we can talk about the Bulldogs a little later when we're talking about the ladder. A lot of changes in the ladder after this week's results. Yeah. South Australia, actually, a pretty good theme for this week. South Australia making news as far as gather round. We'll get into that.
3 more years.
South Australian great Bill Walker given legend status from the Hall of Fame. We can talk about that. But first, I want to talk about another team that's having problems. It's not these guys.
Yeah, because they won.
They got theirs against Essendon.
Yeah.
Wasn't even a game. That's good. It's not your boys, although your boys got a big one this week. We can't we can't emphasize that enough. If they're going to make this charge that I want them to the wild card round,
they've got to keep it going against Greater Western Sydney. Greater Western Sydney coming off a loss, to close loss to St. Kilda. Again, that's another team that confounds us. And Carlton, if they're going to make their run, they can't have a letdown here coming out of the bye. They've got to come back and pick up where they left off and make a run here.
Let's start, though, by talking about your adopted team.
The
Gold Coast Suns.
The Suns, yeah. I can't figure them out. I saw some stats.
What has happened with these guys?
That's a good question. I saw a stat on them that they were, in certain categories, they were between 4th and 6th last year, clearances and marks, and now they're way down in the bottom half, almost to the bottom this year in those areas. And they keep this up, they're not making it. And I saw one AFL commentator write them off as not being contenders anymore, that he had seen enough of them and said there's no way they have a chance to win the title. And this was supposed to be a year where they were supposed to make that leap after winning their first playoff game last year.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be a top 4 team, and certainly not looking like it now.
Well, I bring them up because their head coach, Damian Hardwick, really kind of stepped in it after they got blitzed at Geelong.
Yes.
And he compared their stadium to the Coliseum.
Yes.
And he said that the referees' decisions were influenced by what would be the mob.
Yeah.
At GHMBA Stadium or whatever it's called, whatever the Cats' home is. And so he was saying, it was like the mob would either go up or down when it came to calls. That's right. Yeah. Calls against the Suns. And that earned him a phone call from the league office. He did not get disciplined.
He did not.
He's not expected to get disciplined. But they pretty much told him, look.
Yeah.
Keep it to yourself. It's not the league's fault. You've lost 3 in a row, including 2 after a bye, which to me is inexcusable.
Yeah. It is. And it's amazing that he did not get disciplined, because that was some pretty harsh commentary about the officiating. And over here, in almost every sport, you make comments about the officiating as a head coach, you're getting slapped with something. And now, granted, the fines over there in Australia are nearly as severe as they are here, but I figured at least $1,000 fine or something just to get his attention, to slap his wrist a little bit. But he got just a warning, which I was stunned by, because that was pretty harsh criticism. And
is it as bad? What was the quote earlier in the year to the referee that earned a tribunal?
Oh, how much are they paying?
How much are they paying you?
Yeah. To me, it's as bad as that, if not worse. Because you're saying the home crowd's influencing your decisions as referees. And I mean, this is a guy who won a couple championships at Richmond, came over, has taken this team, from the dregs of the AFL up to, a contender status, made the playoffs for the first time, won a playoff game for the first time. And now all of a sudden it's not happening for them. And they went out and got some good priced players too. Got Christian.
Yes, they did.
And, they didn't rest easy. They went out and got players to get them over to the edge there, or over to the next level, when they haven't done it. And he's got nobody to blame but the guy in the mirror.
Now, he did apologize, which, good move.
Yeah.
I did apologize. But as it is, we're still looking at a 3-game losing streak. They're sitting at 9th right now.
Yep.
And the only saving grace about, 9th doesn't sound very good, but they're just as far away as 5th as they are to being out of it altogether.
Yeah.
So it's not like this losing streak has killed them. And I can't remember what their upcoming schedule is, but I remember it not being easy.
I don't think it is either. I think they have Hawthorn coming up and Collingwood in a couple weeks, and either Brisbane.
Got to get those team cards back out.
Yeah. They do have a pretty formidable schedule coming up, which is going to make it tough. And, right now the ladder is kind of interesting. I mean, I don't put a lot of stock in like one team making a move up because they win a game, because you still got teams on buys. And once these buys get cleared up, I think it'll be a little easier to understand. Some of these things I think are temporary until, teams get off the buys and everybody's played an equal number of games.
Yeah. So they've got that going on. And then they've got the exploits of Daniel Rioli, who got charged for shoving an umpire. And he's facing a $1,500 fine. They're going to go to tribunal to appeal because Gold Coast is one of those teams that's in line to get a $50,000 fine. This Rioli thing is their 5th offense, and that's the one that triggers the big money. So it's not like they got losing to worry about right now. It just seems like there is a lack of discipline within that program. And then you take into account what happened last week with Max Noble.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up getting 4 games for the 9th homophobic slur in the last 2.5 years in the 2 leagues.
Jeez.
I mean, you're looking at the Suns right now, and it just doesn't seem like anything makes sense up there.
It really doesn't. And if you're going to crack down on discipline, I mean, to me, it's a league issue when you're not getting on the coach for what he's saying about the officials. You've got to crack down there. And then, if this is another infraction you have, invoke the $50,000 fine.
I mean,
you got to teach these guys, and
and we've been saying this all year, right? I mean, they don't seem like they want to crack the whip.
They really don't.
But it just seems like more and more and more you're seeing offense after offense. And it's not just Gold Coast. I mean, this is league wide, right? And we keep saying, you know what? If you want to truly crack down on this stuff, the penalties have to be more severe. The financial burdens have to be more severe. And it's just not there right now. There's a threat, until they pull the trigger on 50 grand, it's just a threat. Because they never said the fifth incident would trigger the fine. You know what I mean? It was just kind of there. And they're gonna have another hearing about it instead of just saying, boom, you owe us $50K.
Yeah, and especially for making contact and shoving officials, even one instance of that is too many.
This is what I don't understand. I mean, how do you think it's okay to even be within 3 feet of an official right now, knowing even if you aren't on that list, there were 10 of the 18 teams that were repeat offenders, that had to be told, listen, you got to cut this out, or we're giving you the big fine. But even so, why would you want to be within 2 feet of somebody wearing the green? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And there was another instance. I don't know the player's name. I don't know if it was AFL or VFL. Somebody this week, maybe you saw this. He's now up for discipline for basically blowing his snot on another player. He closed one nostril and blew the snot on a guy. And
as a guy does when he's out trying not to be in public and what have you. We've all done it. We've all, cleared our nose that way. Usually not on someone else.
Exactly.
But the thing about that is that will also earn the usual baseline $1,500 fine, $1,000 if you don't contest it.
Yes.
And none of that is working. And in fact, the teams in the league right now, after this Noble situation, the teams in the league now are acknowledging that maybe their education programs concerning slurs, homophobic, racist, all slurs, perhaps their education programs aren't really working. You don't say.
Yeah, they're going to have to revisit this in the offseason and push for more of this, because you can't have this. And, I go back to I think back to 40 some years ago. You were a young fella, maybe you don't remember this, but the Bill Madlock incident when the Pittsburgh Pirates, I think he took his glove and put it in in the face and shoved an umpire. He got, I think, 30 games.
Oh, yeah.
30 days or something,
They threw the book at him, and they should have.
Yeah.
And they should have, because you don't spit in the face. I mean, I want to say figuratively, but anymore, who knows? Yeah. You don't spit in the face of authority when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, and they've got to get a control on this, because you can't have it like the Wild West. And I'm sure Australia likes to, hey, we're the Wild West of the 7 continents, but you got to show a little decorum on the playing surface.
You got to show a little bit of discipline and respect. I mean,
yeah.
You've got announcers and the codgers, on the radio broadcast, and half the time they're talking about discipline and respect, because that's the old ways, and honestly, that's something that should have carried over. But we don't, for the most part. You know what? And here's the other thing: for the most part, yes, we see it, but there are too many instances right now where we don't see it. And if the league membership is admitting publicly that what they do does not work, then there is more of a problem there than they know.
Exactly. And, it's in a lot of ways, I guess over here, the one comparison could be the NHL, because people keep saying that it's still in the dark ages as far as fighting and gooning it up and things like that, where they're slow to, change their ways. Maybe that's the way it is over there, but you've got to show a little more respect for the officials on the field. I mean, tempers do flare. It is a heated game. There's a lot of motion back and forth.
Yeah.
You've got to keep it under control to some aspect, and not just do what you're doing with these officials, because it's not a good look for anybody.
Let me give you a list of names as we transition to another topic. Gary Ablett Jr., Dustin Fletcher, Jim Evans, David Canilla, Hayden Kennedy, John Warsfold, and the aforementioned Bill Walker. These were the first ones, were the newest inductees to the AFL Hall of Fame. Bill Walker was already in the Hall. He was elevated to legend status, the 34th person in their Hall of Fame to be elevated for his works with the league. I guarantee you these 7 gentlemen would have plenty to say about discipline and decorum on the pitch right now in the AFL.
I'm sure they would, and that's why they've risen to be the type of men they are, and especially when one gets to legend status, that's some pretty heady stuff there. And maybe the AFL has to consult with these guys and get their opinions more, because I'm sure they're not putting up with this either.
No, I don't think they would be. Gary Ablett was with Geelong and Gold Coast, won the Brownlow twice. Dustin Fletcher played 400 games with Essendon. Jim Evans, 1,000-goal scorer for Port Adelaide. Yeah. David, I think I mispronounced his name. I think it's Cantilla. He was named one of the Indigenous players for the team of the century a couple years ago. Hayden Kennedy is a former referee. While we're talking about referees, mind you, former referee. He umpired 495 games in his career. John Warsfold was a player and coach over 556 games. And I think I misspoke earlier about Bill Walker. He's actually from West Australia, and he is done. He is. I don't want to talk out of school, but you talk about Bill Walker the same way you talk about Neil Danaher and the things the impact he made.
Yes.
On not only the game, not only the league, but the game itself, and of course with Mr. Danaher, the neurological condition that he was dealing with when he passed away a couple weeks ago.
Now, is he? I assume he would have been legend status already. Had he earned that distinction yet, or
that I'm not sure about?
Okay,
but like I said, I would not be surprised if he's one of the 34.
Okay,
he was put to rest this week, and of course, teams continued to honor the man for his achievements and his work. We saw him both in Melbourne and Essendon, where special throwback Guernseys, prayers were had, stories were told, as as the honors for Neil Danaher continued this week. I know that you were sending me Instagram clips. The Demons, they really kind of went all in on the Neil Danaher situation, and I'm not going to say it made it a 45-point victory over a Dons team that is probably going to be the wooden spoon this year in the AFL. But the emotions were riding high this past week.
Oh, I'm sure it was, and as it should have been for Melbourne. I mean, both teams involved with Neil, and but the speech I saw from, I think his name was Adam. Was it Adam Davey, Andrew Davey? I'm butchering it now, but it was very well done, and it was nice of them to show that on the feed before the game, and
surprising, I think.
Yeah, I was surprised to see it too.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to look up the legends here because let me look here on the legends, because I just happened to, I do not see Neil on this legends list. Now, the one guy that I thought is on, but I don't see him listed here, is my guy, Bruce Dole. Everything comes back to Bruce Dole for me.
The flying doormat.
The flying doormat. And the list I see here does not have him on it, unless I'm mistaken.
Well,
but he said he's some kind of Hall of Fame legend. Maybe that's within the team. But
well, there's obviously room for 35 and 36 when you talk about those two gentlemen, and I don't think Neil Danaher's family would have any problem with him being elevated to legend status posthumously. In fact, one of the which one was it? Was it you know what? I'm not going to say because I don't know for sure. One of the Hall of Fame inductees was sent in posthumously. So, but yeah, great honor all around, and great remembrances for Neil Danaher. I mean, they had his viewing. It was a state funeral almost, pretty much. They added the MCG so they could accommodate the throngs of fans that wanted to pay their respects. One more note about the D's. A little update on Brody Mahocek, who did end up breaking his neck 2 weekends ago against Collingwood. He did have surgery. He did end up having a broken neck, but he was up and around walking the day after, and he is presumably at home resting. He, of course, is done for the season. We will not see him again we won't see him again in a D's Guernsey. Billy Frampton, though, the guy that tackled him, he at first was levied with 3-game suspension.
Yeah. And
a lot of people, including D's, went to bat for him because it was just such an awkward play.
It was.
Yeah, and after a 50-minute consultation with the tribunal, he was allowed to play this past week. So that matter should be settled.
Now, is it rescinded totally, or are they revisiting it?
It was rescinded totally, from my understanding.
Okay. Well, that's
good. Yeah. So
it looked like a totally accidental type of play.
It was. And, I saw comments on the socials about how the tackle was made on both sides. There were complaints that the tackle itself was high.
Mm-hmm.
There were complaints that Mahocek had ducked his head. And because of that added to the chances of serious injury when he hit the ground. And I think, as it turns out, especially because they were teammates last year, right? I mean, Frampton in a split second was calling for the trainers because he knew something was seriously wrong. He knew the awkwardness of the play. And to his credit, he made sure that his former teammate got the help he needed when he needed it. And as it turns out, he did have a fracture in his neck that it required surgery. And I'm sure all of this was taken into account during this 50-minute appeal.
Yeah.
And it's got to be the right call, right? I mean, it's got to be the right call that, he's allowed to continue to play and he doesn't have to miss any games.
And I don't know if Brody had any weighed in on this, but I'm sure if he went to bat for for Billy Frampton that that might have played into it as well.
Yeah,
I'm guessing he didn't think it was a malicious tackle either.
So he's done for the season, and he'll be able to watch this D's team, which once again got their revenge over the weekend against Essendon and saw themselves rise into the top 4, which puts them in that group of games that's double elimination.
Surprising, and again, another affirmation that Stephen King should be the coach of the year.
Oh,
unless even if they get a wild card spot, I would still think he would be strong consideration for coach of the year. Although the Fremantle coach too, the way they're playing right now, would be under consideration for that as well. But you got to be happy with Melbourne again. Like I said, because of these buys, I'm not sure if when these buys are said and done, they'll still be in the fourth spot. But they're doing very well, and you have every reason to be happy.
Well, you know what? I appreciate that, Joe, and I am happy. And even though I said I would never complain about this team again this year, that's probably not true. Your victory song of the week, though, that's the D's opponent this week, and this is going to be one of those litmus tests, I think. For the D's, I mean, they got to be serious about this one.
I would think so too, and this for Adelaide. If you want to show that you deserve to be in that top 4, and that the way they played lately has not been a fluke. Because again, we couldn't figure them out at the beginning of the year. They played like a team that was just stumbling after the end of last season and couldn't quite get it together. But they've showed lately that they're the real deal, and they're kind of rolling back in. And this is when you want to get hot in the second half of the season, and they're doing that. So this will be a big test for your team as well.
And the thing that boosts me is the fact that they didn't mess around this week with the Bombers. They showed their dominance early and often. I know you lost money on the first goal scorer again, but how about Maxey?
Maxey came out strong and got that first goal, and I was happy for him. I was pulling for Causey money-wise, but it's good to see old Max, doing it. And then he kicked that long-range bomber later in the game. But
can he flush it? Can he flush it?
He flushed it all right.
He flushed it all right from like 75 meters out.
It was a bomb.
It was majestic, is what it was.
Yeah.
Especially for a bald guy who's pushing 37.
Yeah, it wasn't a line drive either. This thing.
No.
It was a Russell Wilson moon ball.
Majestic, gorgeous arc.
Yes,
gorgeous arc right through the posts.
Yeah. So wondering when it was going to come down. But that's what you wanted to do. You didn't want to let Essendon hang around like they did last time. Put them in a hole early, kept them there. The game was never really in doubt. I watched the first half, and then I turned it off because it was just not really a competitive game. And I followed along a little bit later in the second half. But that was a good win for your Demons.
Well, we're coming up on round 15. So the end of the regular season is quickly approaching, believe it or not. I mean, we are midway through June.
And I'm starting to get a little sad thinking about that.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's just crazy that, and of course, our show parallels the AFL regular season because we started, right after week 1, the games of week 1, right?
Yep.
Start right after the games of week 1. So we're kind of running parallel, this being our 15th episode. But like I said, so right now there's a lot to keep track of. So what do you say, Joe? We dive into your new feature.
Ooh.
It's the Stock Watch.
Now, what the Footy Stock Watch?
WTF Stock Watch. Presented by Joe Rutter.
Where we pick our ups and downs of the week. People, teams, places, things that are trending upwards versus downwards. I can't remember what we're going with first, but let's.
Well, we're gonna start with the downers because we want to end this segment on a positive note. So we got to get the downers out of the way, and you've already clicked the first one, and oh my God, Joe,
we have.
I just
saw it.
Oh my God. Oh,
we
Jake.
had Gold Coast on the brain, so I guess that's understandable. But Jake Waterman obviously plays for West Coast, and the reason he
a huge typo.
the reason he makes the list is if he doesn't hit the post in the waning moments, West Coast completes a fourth quarter comeback up and stuns North Melbourne.
Yes,
Rob's favorite team.
Yes,
and they were coming back there, and Rob's.
I thought I changed that to West Coast.
De facto second team is West Coast, and that would have been a good win for them. Kind of would have pushed them back toward relevancy here at an outside of a wild card spot.
Well, and that's the point I was trying to make over the weekend on the Twitters is that, so Waterman hits the post. Boy, he wishes he probably wishes he plays for Gold Coast right now because they're pretty much in the same boat. But anyway, he hits the post. The week before, they blow chance after chance after chance against Port.
Yeah.
That's 8 points. They would be at 24 right now. Now, I said in the tweet they would be on the edge of playoff consideration. And that isn't exactly accurate now, but they would at least be in the conversation. And they would be in the conversation if only because there were plenty of people that didn't think they were going to win a game this year.
Yeah. And, to have a chance, to get that close and to miss it, I mean, it was a tough loss for them, and that's why he's on the stock down report. One of the better players.
What is it? The sickest? I call him the sickest man in Australia.
Now we're fixed here. We got the West Coast correct on this slide, so we're back. We're back in business here.
There we go.
Christian Petrarca for Gold Coast.
Oh, I see what I did. Okay, I caught it somewhere.
You caught it, yes. But
okay, I don't feel so bad now.
Christian Petrarca, big addition for those guys. Won it out of Melbourne. Went to
it was a bad scene in Melbourne. I mean, bunch of losers in Melbourne. Disasters.
The disasters had a great start. Had 7 goals after the first 2 games. And as Rob, I got to give you the assist on this one because you correctly pointed out.
Oh yeah, I looked this up.
5 goals, 3 behinds in the last 5 games, and that's not a cut. That's not going to cut it. He's supposed to help Gold Coast get over the top.
No,
and right now he's been part of the problem for them, and he's been disappearing for a lot of games. And the one radio announcer
actually asked the question: "Where is Christian in the first half of that 40-point loss over the weekend? Where's Christian Petrarca? Has he had any touches? Where's Christian Petrarca?" I mean, when people are having to ask that question, something's wrong. And 5 goals in 5 games and 3 minors? No way is that going to cut it. Absolutely not.
No, not for a guy that you brought in to really create havoc in the midfield and to provide some scoring and get, just be involved in, a lot of the scoring, even if you're not kicking him. He's just not doing it. And so he's on our list. And number 3, the Port Adelaide Power.
I'll tell you what. You want to talk about a tough luck story?
Oh. Yep.
I mean, tell us.
Team to lose their 5th game of the season. They're 0-5 in games. Well, I'm not sure if they're 0-5, but they've lost 5 times in games decided by 3 points or less this season. And we still got 10 weeks to go in the year, so this could always increase that. But they've had so many hard luck games, but they've lost 5 times in games 3.
They've got what, 4 wins?
I believe.
Is that what it is? I mean, we'll see it in the ladder, but I think they've got 4 wins. Yet their percentage is still over 100. They are still outscoring their opponents.
Yeah, that shows you how they're.
It's insane.
How well they're playing. So if they have 4 wins, they're 4-9 at this point.
Yeah,
or maybe 4-10. But to lose, you switch half those games back, you're in wild card position.
Of course,
you switch 2 or 3 of those, and you're
of
right
course.
there.
Yeah.
Now, looking on the other side, a little better for us this week.
Yeah, let's. And by the way, I told you this yesterday. I'm just gonna tell everybody this. Anytime you're gonna send me a guy to put on there, I'm getting a screaming face. That's what you're gonna see on this graphic. So here's our 3rd screaming face of the graphic, and of course, it's someone near and dear to my soul. It's Kasaya, our Messiah Pickett. Yes.
32 disposals, 10 scoring involvements, and 3 goals.
Monster
Pretty much
game.
made sure that Melbourne wouldn't have another letdown against Essendon. And really, just kind of, he didn't get the first goal, but he was involved in a lot of scoring, and he's really stepped it up and been a force for Melbourne as they make this run into the top four.
Also to note, his cousin Latrell delisted this week. Coach's decision. Yeah, no real explanation on that. So maybe they're just giving him a little bit of a rest for the stretch run. I don't know, because, it is his rookie season. Perhaps he's hitting a wall. They talk about that over here in the pro sports leagues, the rookies. Mm-hmm. What was it in the NFL, Joe? Do you remember when they would hit that rookie wall? Was it like 12, 13?
Yeah, when you got to week 12, 13, when December hit, because you played that many games in college.
Yeah.
I don't know how many games he played at the lower level, but I'm sure it wasn't nearly the schedule, the grind that you got here.
Right. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye out for the D's. But again, not complaining. Fourth on the lap.
Next one.
Yeah, who's next?
Touch on this briefly. South Australia, the stock.
Yeah, we're gonna let's get into this a little bit, because this is important, right? I mean, this is
3 more years of gather round in South Australia.
Yeah, this is a big deal,
which will make those people happy. And we've kind of talked about going over for the 2027 grand final. If we ever made another trip, I'd like to go for a gather round. So you get a chance to
see Adelaide.
Yeah,
absolutely.
See as many games as possible in 1 week. I think that would be a nice trip to make.
For as much as it was talked up this year, they had record crowds. And this was despite the economic situation worldwide that they were really worried about, as far as people, making that big drive. I mean, nobody flies, making that big drive across the country to Adelaide, and the gas discounts and what some of the lodging was going for. There were a lot of concerns kind of surrounding the gather round situation. But as it turns out, it seems like everybody had an incredibly great time. Again, they had record attendance. And it probably wasn't too much of a fight to give it back to South Australia for 3 more years, do you think?
I don't think it was really. I know the other areas, other states have wanted to see this, but there's no reason they can't later in the year have some sort of mini gather round at another spot. Like
perhaps.
Obviously not Victoria because half the league's there, but move it, put something somewhere where you could have another festival, and you could have maybe more teams or some kind of round robin thing, or some teams playing in bigger venues.
Well, I mean, isn't that the problem with Tassie coming in a couple of years?
Yeah.
Having the odd number of teams and trying to figure out how you're going to schedule gather round.
Yeah, that's true. Somebody's going to be left out.
I mean, I saw one suggestion that said that, one of the Adelaide teams plays twice in 5 days. They play on that Thursday, and then play on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I guess Monday.
Yeah.
Playing on that Monday. Now, I would hope that if they do end up doing something like that they give that team 2 weeks off.
I would think so too.
You know what I mean? I mean, That's really, especially with the pressure of playing in front of your home fans.
Mm-hmm.
You're the host. Anytime you're the host, you don't want to lose to begin with, but losing as the host is just an absolute dagger to the heart. So if you're going to make one of these teams play twice, I would hope you would give them some recompense on the other side.
Yeah, or you start it on a Wednesday, and make it even longer.
Yeah,
and then
you could do that.
Then Wednesday to Monday, you're giving them even a little bit of a longer break.
Yeah,
they've got to do something like that. And
you know what? I was going to say one more thing. That makes a lot of sense because we have schedules where you play on a Sunday or a Saturday and then play on Thursday. So it's not like these teams aren't used to short weeks. So I really kind of like that idea of starting on a Wednesday instead of Thursday and making it work for the 19 teams. Okay, let's go to the last one, Joe.
Okay, last one. We talked about them before. The Adelaide
oh, my goodness.
For good reason, song of the week. Their big thing is they got off to that slow start, but they've won 7 of their past 9. And they're now back in the top 6. Just a team we kind of wondered about. All of a sudden, now making its move.
I feel like because of their poor showing in the finals last year, that it was 1,000 years ago that they ended up being minor premiers.
It really seems.
Doesn't feel that way, and just it just hasn't been. I mean, their season, like you said, their success is very recent. They were so up and down to start this year, and now all of a sudden, they're what? Are they third now? No, I'm sorry, they're sixth. They're back into the top six. They're back into the top six, and we're starting to talk about them again instead of talking about Western.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Yeah. So, yeah, Adelaide, a top 6 team once again.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember their schedule either. I need to have these team cards like surrounding me so I can figure out what's going on.
The big board.
And I need a big board. I need the big board. Maybe that's next week's graphic, right? Who all the teams have left.
Could be. We're always looking for ways to entertain our viewers. If you're a listener, go to YouTube and watch this. So
That's right.
See the great graphics we have.
Oh, jeez.
Are we moving on to the odds here, or are we?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can move on. So that's Stock Watch for this week. So now we're back to the results and fixture, and we're just going to quickly go through these. Of course, there's Adelaide's huge win over Western. And, as much as we talked up the Bulldogs, is it possible they've hit their peak early? I mean, is it possible that, the injuries of the year are going to catch back up with them and we're going to see a gradual slide back down?
It's possible. I mean, they've got St. Kilda here coming up. They got a nice little break. They play the Sunday game, the last game in Marble. And, maybe that gives them a little time to regroup here. But, this is a winnable game for them if they're going to get back into that top 6 and show they're a contender. But it was not a good showing after we were ready to kind of anoint them as the team to watch down the stretch.
Yeah. So have we anointed Adelaide as the team to watch? I'm afraid now. I don't want them to, lose 6 in a row. And all of a sudden, we're talking about how we're bad luck. I don't know.
I mean, based on what they did last year and,
I know. And last year they finished strong. That's how they became the minor premiers. They were 3rd and 4th in the ladder for the longest time. And they made that charge like in the last 6 weeks of the regular season and surprised everybody to take the minor premiership. And then, of course, it all went bad in the finals. But nobody forgets the kind of charge they made late last year. There's the Suns, 45 points at the Coliseum, to the Cats, who aren't a bad team. I mean,
Geelong's a good team.
Well, and this is something I kind of want to point out. We made a big deal about how the Suns are supposed to be better than what they are, and I think that's 1,000% true. But you lose on the road to Geelong by 45, maybe not as shameful as you think.
No, I mean, you look at Geelong and they played in the grand final last year. Again, has had some ups and downs, but that's the Geelong team you kind of expect to get, going into these games. And, Gold Coast just not able to match the intensity right now.
Yeah. There's the D's over the Dons. There's the Eagles, the 1-point loss to North. Sydney. I don't know what to think about these guys.
I don't either, because they're going back to winning ugly. They're barely holding on and squeaking by against teams you figured they would blow out. Adding to that stat for Port Adelaide.
And because Freo was off this past week, so Sydney is at the top of the ladder with them. And if you look at the percentage points, and we'll do that here in a second, it's really close.
Oh, it's very
close. If Sydney wins some of these games like they're supposed to, I think they are easily the top of the ladder right now.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Which is crazy because they have played so inconsistent and so poorly the last 6 weeks.
They really have.
They've been terrible.
And maybe they benefit from having the time off this week. But they're just a confounding team, especially if you're a wagerer. You like to put a few coins on the outcomes. They're a tough team. And then you've got one down below that. You got Brisbane coming back.
That was a get well game that they took advantage of, right? I mean,
Didn't blow them out, but did enough to, won convincingly. I don't think that score was. I mean, at halftime it was a little close. They pulled away in the third quarter, like Brisbane is known to do, like it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And
Richmond covered.
Yeah.
The Tigers covered.
Yeah.
One of my 3 wins this week. I was 3-4. That's why I call it. Yeah, that's why I call them tail 'em and weep. There's a lot of crying this week, that's for sure. Boy, the bank account not looking so good. And then pretty much the earliest playoff game of the season between St. Kilda and Greater Western. And with the win, St. Kilda jumps up into the wild card and drops Greater Western back down below.
Yeah, and again, St. Kilda, all that money spent, kind of came out with the game you thought they'd have. Greater Western, after a couple big wins, taking a step back again, and a little surprising because it looked like they were ready to kind of make a move there. And again, now you got to wonder what kind of team are you dealing with here. Seems like we got a lot of questions about a lot of these teams.
Yeah,
they're kind of floating between that 8 to 12 spot.
Yeah, Nasaya, by the way, monster game.
Yes,
I think he went 32 disposals and 27 kicks or something like that. Had a goal and 2 minors. It was a performance that they have been waiting for, essentially all season in a game that mattered, and this game definitely mattered to both the Saints and the Giants. You look at the buys, one glaring right there. Your Carlton Blues.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they use that break wisely.
I hope they do too.
As you mentioned, they've got the Giants coming up this week on the road.
We'll see what Josh Fraser's made of as the caretaker coach here. If you get these guys back ready to play, and see what they got.
Collingwood was off, and we watched them drop a couple more spots, as we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. Freo, Hawthorn, 2 of the top 3 teams off. So the fixture looks like this for this week. The Thursday night footy game, probably game of the week, right?
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. Freo Geelong at
I'll be
Optus.
up Thursday morning trying to follow along on this one at some point.
Dockers 12.5 right now. 12.5 point favorites against Geelong.
Yeah, that's
you think that's stretching? You think that's stretching a little bit?
It might be. It might be because Geelong, the way you're coming off that last win against Gold Coast, Geelong is traveling, but it's. I could see Geelong hanging in there, maybe even winning because you never know what you're going to get from Freo coming off the bye.
Yeah. Friday night footy is the aforementioned Gold Coast Suns, a 2.5 point dog against Hawthorn.
Probably as it should be, and I would think right now if I'm putting money on this, I'd go Hawthorn all the way. I think the way Hawthorn, playing coming off the bye though. Again, with Gold Coast, it's more an indictment on Gold Coast than a pat on the back for Hawthorn.
I was going to say, is it just 2.5 because it's a home game for the Suns?
I guess.
Given the way the Suns have played the last 3-4 weeks, I expected that line to be a little more.
Yeah, I thought it might be as well. And it just occurred to me when you said the Friday night game. This is the last week of the original schedule. We go into the flex weeks next week.
That's right. A very good point.
So we'll good point. These we'll have to evaluate these matchups and see what the league had, if the league knew what it was doing when it put these games in primetime on Thursdays and Fridays.
Yeah, because the dynamic has shifted a little bit since they came out with the flex schedule. I mean, it was all Sydney, and now ever since the Swans, have been matching steam and piles with the Bulldogs from this week. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like they know what's going on.
And conspicuous from their absence, the Carlton Blues from Thursday or Friday slate the rest of the next 5-6 weeks when they've won 4 in a row now.
Yeah, and you know what? And honestly, everybody kind of wants to see this team right now. They want to see the Josh Fraser Blues. They already know about the Michael Voss Blues, and that is way back in the rearview mirror. I think we've finally seen the end of the talk and the canonization of the guy and what he has meant to the found and all that kind of stuff is all that crap is kind of gone now. I mean, this is a Josh Fraser enterprise through and through. through the end of the regular season, and we'll just see where it takes them. They are the Saturday game against Greater Western. I skipped Melbourne for a second, but we'll do yours first. The Giants 14.5-point favorites.
I just looked today and it was 15.5. But
okay,
either way, I'm taking Carlton all day long because I think they're going to keep it close. Whether they win or not, I'm not sure. But they played well enough right now. They're going to keep it close. GWS is at home. But, the way Carlton is coming off this bye and with this momentum they've got, I think they should cover this one easily.
Yeah. Friday night here, Saturday afternoon over there in Melbourne. Travels to Adelaide to take on the Red Hot Crows. Like I said before, a litmus test. This is where you find out who you are.
You really do. And, I see that 16.5 line, and, that's a tough one. That's one that I know you do every game. I don't.
Yeah.
That's one I might just leave alone.
You'd stay away from that one.
Yeah.
Port is at Collingwood. The Pies a 14.5-point favorite. If ever a team needed a victory in round 15, do you not think Collingwood would be at the top of the list?
I would think so too. And again, you're talking about Port. You're talking about a de facto. Port hasn't played that well, but they've lost so many close ones.
Yeah.
This one, I'm surprised they're getting 14.5 points because I would take them with the points, thinking they can maybe pull the upset on this one.
North in Richmond at MCG on Sunday afternoon over there, Saturday night here. And the Roos, 18.5-point faves.
Yeah, I know they pulled one out this last week. Richmond, though, showed me a little bit against Brisbane, hanging tough there for a while. I don't know. That's another one that's maybe too close for me to call.
Yeah. And then the finale for the weekend has St. Kilda and the Bulldogs. And St. Kilda, a 1.5-point dog that game at Marvel. Does St. Kilda keep their playoff spot for now?
That's the golden question here. And Western, I would like to think Western steps it up and bounces back and wins this. And I think they need to win it, by a couple goals to show that they're for real. But no, and if Western doesn't win, then I think we've got our answer to is Western going to be the team we think they are.
I was going to say, of the many questions we have remaining about this season, we might get some answers this week with some of these games. And then again, maybe we won't. The way this season has gone up and down for a lot of these teams, maybe we won't. Brisbane, Essendon, Sydney, West Coast are off this week. Next slide, please. We were talking about this last week about how the odds changed. You already mentioned it. What game was it? Already moved a point. So I went back. Yeah. I went back and looked. Never tell me the odds, Han Solo said. By the way, those pictures are not from the Falcon. I tried to get the actual scene, where Han Solo said that, to C-3PO. But I had to get Chewie in there too. Okay. You can't do Han Solo and not have Chewie in there too. But anyway, I went back and looked just to see what kind of movement there was. And the movement wasn't drastic, but it was there. Yeah. And in games where you're only talking about 2.5 points to begin with, a 2-point swing to 4.5, that's pretty big.
Yeah, it is. And anytime you're moving a couple more than 2 or 3 points, I think it's fairly big. And look at 3 there in your game down from 31.5 to 20.
Yeah, went 3 points, moved 3 points. Yeah.
That could be, a couple of these games didn't move at all, or maybe one spot, but I've seen earlier in the year when maybe it's been 5 or 6 points it's changed.
Oh yeah. And I think from time to time, if we see some major swings that may not be noticed by the general populace, we'll bring this graphic back just to point out how much the news between Monday, when we record this show, Monday evening Eastern Daylight Time here on the East Coast of the United States, from that time to when the teams are announced and all the news comes out before the Thursday night footy games for the week, how much of those odds can really change.
Yeah, they really do in some instances. And I guess at the beginning of the week, if you're getting a ton of points, and you don't think it's going to be there later in the week, you jump on that.
I mean, it obviously doesn't help me, but yeah, you're right. I mean, if you pay attention, you can potentially get some good bargains in there.
Yeah.
Help out your bankroll. Help out my bankroll. Please.
That's right. You need it more than I do, so I'm rooting for you.
Well, it's only because these aren't horses, Joe. If we had Triple Crown races every week, you'd be a millionaire by the end of the year.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Then I'm pretty sure our whole show.
Well, the only thing is, would you have the stones to let it ride? That's the question.
That's right.
Next slide, please.
Okay, we're moving on.
Here we are, the current ladder, and we did see some movement this week, of course. There's that percentage at the top I was talking about, 4.2%. And I think that's easily closed if Sydney plays like it was playing the first 6 weeks of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you love this Frio story, right? You love this 12-game winning streak, right? Sydney is the fly in the ointment, and honestly, they don't deserve to be. They've been so bad.
They really have been. And,
relative to that first 6 weeks, when we thought they were world beaters, and they were just steamrolling everybody.
Yeah, we really thought, okay, they've cemented themselves. They're going to be the team to beat going into this, and they've kind of just stagnated. They're winning, but they've still, what are they? 12-2, I think. They just stagnated here, and. Yeah, and the other thing that sticks out to me, looking at Geelong and their percentage, 123 for a team that has 36 points. When they're winning big. When they're losing, I guess they're losing close. And,
which there are much worse ways to go. That's for sure.
Yes.
And then you've got your D's, probably the quietest fourth place team. Probably the quietest team on this ladder right now. Because they're winning the games they're supposed to, and they're putting in some surprises here and there. And I think it's going to continue that way because they still have some lower rung teams to play here in the next couple weeks. The only way they're going to make noise if they lose to some of these guys. And I honestly, after this past week with Essendon, I think we're past that. I think they know what they're playing for right now.
I think they do too, and you can't afford to have more losses like that. You got to take care of the teams you can take care of at the bottom. You need to beat those bottom feeders to give yourself a shot, and they want to stay in the top 6, if not top 4.
Hawthorn 5, your Crows at 6, so your Crows are now into the green on our ladder. Wild cards now Brisbane, Western, Gold Coast at 9. Holy cow, St. Kilda moves up to 10. Still 2 bangers. If that's the wild card teams when the playoffs start, there's 2 banger games right there, right?
Local games.
You've got Greater Western. You got North, who, begrudgingly, I will allow into the conversation. Even though their percentage is horrible, they're right there as far as the wins, right? So you got if you're going to talk about Collingwood with 22 and where they are in relation to the wild card round, you've got to include the Roos, right?
I would think so.
You got to make sure they're part of the conversation.
Yeah,
there's your
Blues. I don't think they'll be there in the end, but they could prove me wrong.
Yeah, exactly. There's your Blues. 1 game out win-wise, but you and I both agree it's more like 2 games because of their percentage, right?
They've got to get out. They've got to get clear a 10th spot.
And the thing is, the later you get into the season, the tougher it is to make up that ground percentage-wise.
Yeah.
It's just not mathematically there. And we saw 2 weeks ago, they had a chance against a lower team to maybe run it up, and they didn't do it. They got the win, which is great because in the grand scheme, that's what you want. But you start looking at that percentage, 88.7. That is really, really weak. So it's basically all or nothing right now for the Blues. It's win or go home for the rest of the season, right?
You look at it, they're barely above North Melbourne in the percentage. So they've got the 5th worst percentage in the league right now.
Yeah.
You've got to improve on that. And you got to get the wins. And that way, if you get the wins, that percentage will come slightly up. But yeah, whether it's enough to get up over 100, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, and you can use the same kind of argument when you keep going down the ladder when you're talking about Port and talking about West Coast. Because if you have West Coast at 24 points, I don't think their percentage is going to be anywhere close to even Carlton's at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, 72.7 is pretty anemic. No matter if they were to win those two close games they lost, because they would have been close wins. And honestly, that percentage is probably going to be the same as what it is now.
Yeah, it's not good. You look at Port there at 101, and that just shows you that these close losses are killing them, because when they're winning, they're doing okay. They're, what are they, a 4-12? But they've still scored more points than they've given up. That's
what I mean. I mean, that's insanity, really, is what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Richmond and Essendon fill out this week's ladder. Joe, do you have a final thought?
I really don't. I really don't have one for this week. I saw what your final thought was, and after you're done, I may just piggyback something short off that. So I'll let you go ahead.
All right, so we'll bring the graphic back up then, because I've got graphics for this. My final thought concerns a certain NBA team here in the States. As you may or may not have heard, the New York Knickerbockers won their first NBA title in 53 years on Saturday night, 5 games against the San Antonio Spurs. 1973 was the last time they'd won a quote-unquote world championship, and it got me to thinking about droughts in the AFL. And I know this may have been covered earlier in the season, but I just thought it was good to bring it back this year. So next slide, please. On the one you probably can't read, and I didn't realize this until I started looking at them but right before the show. But Essendon is there at number 5. It's been 26 years since the Bombers won. They won in 2010. Next one, please. Next one, please.
We're not acknowledging that one.
The Roos won back in 98. I see it. 27 years. You know what, you guys? I got your color right, so just be happy about that. Here's your Crows. Joe, are we talking too much about the Crows this week? Are they going to crash and burn now that we've talked them up so much? I don't know.
Then
28 years. There's your Blues. 31 years. What was that, 1995?
But then we got one above this.
Yeah, but there's one that is longer than the 53 years of the New York Knicks, and it is the St. Kilda Saints.
I did not realize that.
60 years it's been since they won a title.
And I
snuck another
grand final, though. I think
What's that?
I think in the last 15 or 20 years, they did reach a grand final.
They did get to a grand final. Yes. It's 60 years since they won it all. And I added another gray bar at the bottom. If you would reveal that, please, Joe. Freo has never won a title. And they've been in the league 31 years. And, of course, I have to bring them up because they are one of 31 teams to start the season 12-1 or better. And I don't know that we made enough of these stats a couple weeks ago when the AFL did a story on this, so I'll kind of bring it up now. 31 teams have started 12-1 or better. 26 of those teams have made it to the grand final. 2 of those teams that didn't, by the way, were Carlton, but we just,
big shocker there.
We can get past that. And actually, one of those teams was Freo about 12 years ago.
Okay.
Another Dockers team started, I think it was 12-1, did not make the grand final. Chances are, though, if you start that well, you're going all the way to the final game of the season. However, of those teams, only half of them have actually won the grand final. So as you can see, a 12-1 start does not guarantee you are raising the cup at the MCG in the last weekend of September.
It does not. And your graphic here got me thinking, well, two
Yeah.
things. One is if we put 1979 on there, that would be when our Pittsburgh Pirates last won a World Series.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you're talking 47 years, big drought. They're actually playing well. They were playing well this year. They're kind of around 500.
Yeah.
Chance though to get into the playoffs, to have a chance. So that'll be something I am going to be watching. But the other thing that's interesting is you bring up this NBA thing with the Knicks. And to let our audience know, we are now officially on Twitter. We have a few clips up from last week. Hopefully, I'll add a few more this week. Well, I've started following people on Twitter, and I've found a lot of players that we've followed and teams have been rooting for the Knicks and watching the Knicks in the NBA playoffs. Gold Coast, I believe, had a watch party. It was either them or Sydney had a watch party.
That's crazy.
And some of these players were showing highlights of them sitting there watching these games. And so, I guess the NBA, we talk about the time difference here. I guess, these games started at 8:30. So
I was just going to say, it kind of works out for them, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It starts at, what would it be, 10:30 in the morning?
Yeah, if the tip-off is 8:30 at night our time, that's 10:30 in the morning over there the next day, sure.
Yeah, so, it kind of works out for those guys. And, it seems like there's been a lot of NBA fans in the AFL, which their basketball season ended well over a month ago. I think they had
it was a while ago.
Game. So they're into this, and apparently they're also into their soccer team, which is coming up against the Americans here later in the week.
World Cup.
Yep, World Cup.
World Cup. You want to get into this, right? I mean,
I don't have to.
Well, are you not into the World Cup?
I'm not into it nearly as much as you are.
Oh, see, World Cup is the only soccer I'll really watch because it is the best of the best worldwide. I am enamored with what they can do with their feet in a soccer ball. You've just never seen anything like it. And Friday night, the United States men's team played the best game probably they have ever played. Whether it be World Cup, whether it be CONCACAF, whether it be friendlies, it doesn't matter. It was a team none of us had ever seen before. And it was glorious. 4-1 win over Paraguay. And then the Socceroos, who are in the same group as the Americans, Group D.
Yep.
Had their match against Turkey, which is the way pig-headed, or not the way pig-headed Americans say Turkey, okay? That's the actual pronunciation of their country. So they're heavily favored, though, against the Aussie national team, only to go down to a 2-0 defeat to the Socceroos. So good thumbs up for the Americans, good thumbs up for the Socceroos for like a couple more days, because Friday afternoon, it's the United States against Australia in the second of their 3 Group D matches. And Socceroos, just like North Melbourne, you're going to be the Soccer Poos. You're going down.
And because we're doing the thumbs thing, for Damian Hardwick, another thumbs down.
Well, I mean...
That's my final thought.
Well, and you know what? That's what the apology gets you when you know you shouldn't have said something at all. I mean, I get that you're frustrated. And that's the only way you can take the comments he made, right? Mm-hmm. It's absolute frustration that this team of his, like you said, Joe, this team of his that should be vying for not just a top 6, a top 4 spot. They should be one of the ones getting the double elimination at the top when the finals start. They're sitting there at 9th.
Yep. And
they're only a game out of not being in it at all. And they've got all this high-priced talent.
A lot of high-priced talent. They've got a tough schedule coming up. So it's the odds are not in their favor.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, he thinks he's frustrated now. And he thinks he's hearing it from the fan base now. Wait till he has to run that gauntlet of a schedule.
Yeah.
See where he shows up at week 22, week 23, week 24.
Mm-hmm.
That's our show for this week. You can catch us on the socials at WTF What the Footy. Just all over the place, right, Joe?
Everywhere.
We're on YouTube at WTF What the Footy. We are on Twitter at WTF What the Footy. You can catch our show there. We pin it usually on Monday nights. We will do so again tonight. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify at WTF What the Footy. We are on Facebook at WTF What the Footy. And we are now posting on Instagram some clips at WTF What the Footy. If you would, please check them all out.
And if we ever decide to really get an audience, we'll post the pictures of us on our Guernseys.
Will we?
Maybe we'll save that one.
Maybe we should talk.
Maybe
we should talk about that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. For Joe Rutter, I'm Robert Gregory. See you next time.
Showtime.
Hour 10.
And it occurred to me, it didn't occur to me till right now, just at the very end, that I've been sitting with the sun at my back. Because last week I sat.
You actually look okay though.
Okay.
Yeah. You look okay.
Okay.
It wasn't like last week where it was just like.
Yeah.
I think it was a clear day last week, all sun.
Maybe it was.
But you were okay today. You're okay. Why did you switch back around? Or were you doing something else?
This is just kind of where I sat. This is where I've been sitting to do work and stuff.
Gotcha. You like the sun on your back.
Yeah.
You're like the sun caressing your neck as you write your pirate stories. Because you're not really retired.
That's right.
You're sort of retired. Is that Lori in the kitchen?
That is her in the kitchen.
What's she making?
She's just getting some pretzels, I think. Some popcorn, some cheese popcorn.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Dinner.
Lori, I called your boy a bad word on a hot mic moment.
Yeah. He called me. Oh, we're
still recording here. Watch your language.
This won't make it on, right? As I'm stuffing my face.
Oh, it totally is. Yeah, we're still recording.
Yeah.
Bye, Lori.
Bye.